And there we go. We are live, Hafez. Can you hear me all right over there?
I can hear you fine. How am I
Excellent.
coming through?
You're coming through
I'm
great.
not. I'm not seeing anything.
You're not seeing anything? Because I got to do
Nope.
this. Can you see it now?
Nope.
Well, I can see you. Let me double check we're live here. The good old hiccups of it all. Yeah, we're
so,
live.
where do we go? YouTube to see this?
Yeah, you can see it on YouTube if you go to Royal LePage West or the Facebook page.
All right. Well, let me take a look at what you're seeing so that we know that everything's all good. So, how's it going with you this morning?
Good, good. It's our pretty faces with the July Trends, July Real Trends 2019 newsletter up there.
There you go.
As you are the man to talk to for technology, even more than me, actually.
Yeah, you're pretty tech savvy yourself out here,
I have my
or C,
moments. I have my moments.
or C, I should say.
Well, I can't get a simple webinar to come up here right now, so I'm going to have to use my phone.
You know what my problem might be? My problem. I think I might. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep,
I think I might know what the issue is. What browser are you using?
I use Google Chrome exclusively.
Yeah, that could be what my issue is. Why this is
Why
not
are you
working
a
properly.
Firefoxer?
No, I'm a Edge user.
Oh,
RLP live with Hafez.
there you go.
One person watching now. That's me.
You or me, one or the other.
There you go.
Oh,
Oh, well, there it is. Live with Hafez. Okay, well, I got to get rid of this because now we're going to hear the echo, right?
super echo.
One person. Yeah.
Well, there we go. We're up and running. Semi.
Sounds good. I won't. I won't worry about watching you. I'll just talk and watch myself.
Yep, that's what you're here for. Just share your brain knowledge.
There you go.
So, Fez, I asked you on here today to talk about real estate and technology and what it means for the future. And what started this conversation was, if you're watching here, you can see it in the background. It was from the Real Trends July issue. And the title of it is, if I can scroll up to it here without getting too much lag and everything else.
What is the future of real estate brokerage?
There you go. So it says here, oh, I'm scrolling everywhere here right now. 1 second. Come on, computer, you can do it. Keep going past it. Have you ever talked to buyer, or have you ever talked to buyer or seller off the ledge, thrown in the motions of a divorce or a job transfer? Does a computer algorithm have the empathy and counseling skills to deal with the human side of a real estate transaction? So, with the current, what do we call them? We call them disruptors.
Sure.
The iBuying is, I guess, what they're calling it down in the United States. Do you personally feel like this is something that's going to ever make it into mainstream real estate? Let's say now or 50 years down the road.
So, I mean, first of all, I want to just thank you for including me on this webinar. It's an honor to be on here with you and discuss the trends and what's happening in real estate. So, I read the article yesterday, and I was giving it a fair bit of thought, and also this morning I'm giving it a fair bit of thought. And I guess what I'm trying to struggle with is, in today's world, we seem to just throw out I and internet without having any real meaning behind it. So,
Yep.
what is an iBuyer? I mean, I think that's one thing that I'm trying to understand what that is. Is that an iBuyer that is trying to buy something virtually because they put on a HoloLens screen and another agent is walking through the property that they're going to buy? Is an iBuyer somebody that is actually going to deal with a robot real estate agent? So I mean, I think we need to put some definition to what the iBuyer or iSeller is really.
Yep.
And once we understand that, then I think we can figure out how and if our role will ever change. Technology is as great as it is and as phenomenal as it is. I don't think it's matured enough from an AI perspective, artificial intelligence perspective, to be able to really replace humans. So when the article talked about, and I think you just mentioned it, talked about talking the buyer and seller off the ledge and have the emotions and empathy that a human does. I don't think technology's ever, well, I shouldn't say ever, but technology's not there yet. And I don't think we're going to get there for quite some time.
Well, the reason they have here is with technology, artificial, as you said, the artificial intelligence, they talk about five major points here. So
Yep.
first one to talk was the frequency. People only purchase or sell a home on average every 8 to 10 years. This is not the same as ordering a book, an airplane ticket, or a Netflix video. This requirement for selling and buying 10 years ago may be very different today. Most people only buy or sell a home 4 or 5 times in a lifetime. The experience ranks up with the graduation, weddings, and frequency of their life events. So for someone like yourself, how long have you been in real estate for now, Hafez?
13 years.
13 years. God,
Yeah.
so smart. I feel like you've been 28 years or something. Um,
You're
how
too
often?
kind.
Well, I'd talk to you a bit. How often do you think that with repeat customers, do they come back to the same person because they know their they for lack of better words, they know that they know their stuff. They're not going to
Right.
go search someone else. You know, I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you think everyone will ever make the leap of faith to go do a virtual program, buy virtually, when they have that trusted realtor in their back pocket that they know they can call to get all the advice in the world they want and discuss their personal situations with?
So really interesting what you're saying. So I've got a very, very good client who's become good friends of ours as well. And I mean, the family, kids hang out, and we frequently see them. Not as much as we always like, just because everyone's busy schedule. But here's a classic example of a very good client that has done, let's say, 10 real estate purchases over the course and one sale over the course of, let's say, 3 years. Okay, so he's a solid investor. Uh, I didn't even know that he was getting back in the market or that he wanted another property. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he calls me up and goes, and in fact, I had spoken to him about a month ago when he was talking to me about a completely different investment opportunity. And we were talking about financing and how we could take advantage of it and how we could leverage and get it done. And I helped him out. Obviously, he's a friend and a very good client. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he calls me up and he's like, "So that other investment opportunity is not going to work." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's unfortunate." And he's like, "But I've still done the financing, so I want to go shopping. And in fact, I already saw a place I like." And I said, "Okay, what do you mean you saw it?" He goes, "Oh, well, I just called a realtor up and I went and I took a look at the property." And I mean, I'm like, "Okay, fine, as long as they were okay with it." And he's like, "But I obviously I want you to write up the contract. Let's make an offer." So I tell you the example because here's a guy that's been a multiple uh, purchaser. He obviously has a fair bit of knowledge of the process. He found the property himself. He contacted the agent himself. Whether I agree with what he did or not, the other agent was cooperative, uh, and yet he still called me up to want to write the contract and help him out. So he could have very well just represented himself or had the agent put him in touch with another realtor, and I wouldn't have been any of the wiser. So yeah, there is a level of trust that we build with our clients, and if you do a good job and you put their needs ahead of yours and their interests ahead of yours, they're going to want to come to you time and time again. So yeah, I mean, to answer your first point with respect to frequency, when you establish that trusted relationship as a trusted advisor to your clients, they're going to want to work with you, and they're going to want to come back to you. And I look at myself and things that I purchase. Airline tickets is a good example. There's I use CIBC Reward Center, and there's a travel agent that I will only deal with because she does great service, and I keep going back to her. I don't even know if she makes a commission on me or not, but I just have a certain amount of loyalty to her, and I keep going back to her because she does a great job.
Funny story about that. I went and bought airline tickets through an app to go to Vegas for a bachelor party, and this is the whole trusted
Yeah,
thing. How I will never do it again, because in most
yeah.
situations when you go and order something, you get a confirmation page, kind of like when you order through Amazon. Here's a
Yeah.
review of your order. This is what's happening. This app, it has a rabbit on it. I can't remember it, and all of a sudden you go and you press OK, I'm ordering, and boom, it's done. You were ordered, you were done. So that was a bad experience, if you will, with online purchasing and not knowing what I was
Without
getting.
even realizing what you did, it just bought it and paid for it, right?
I thought I was going to get a confirmation. Here's a review
Yeah.
of your order. See, that's kind of like with buying a house, right? What if you go do that and you're all of a sudden you say,
And you're hooped.
yeah, I guess I bought this house.
Yeah.
No conditions, no anything.
Yeah, so it's
Next,
scary, right? But
yes.
before you go on there, before we go to the next point, though, so in respect to frequency, so this same client, as many times as he's done these transactions, he asks me some question about the draft or something like that. He's like, "Oh, I got to get you a draft," and I send it to the other person. I'm like, "How many times have you done this? How many drafts have you got me? And you still don't remember that the drafts aren't due until subject removal and they go to my office?"
Yeah.
and I hold on to it. So, something as simple as that, a guy that's very, he's a very intelligent guy. He's an accountant by trade. He's, multiple transactions, and yet he still forgets something as minor as where the draft gets delivered to. So as soon as I clarified with him, he said, "Oh yeah, that's right. Thanks. I totally forgot about how it worked." So again, there's the frequency, there's the trusted advisor, and there's the I don't buy and sell houses every single day of my life. I don't know the exact process every single time.
Yeah, you haven't memorized it like someone like yourself, who this is what you do day in and day out, and
Yeah,
to you it's second nature. You don't even think about it anymore, right?
yeah,
Well, you think
yeah, and
about it, but a lot more is ingrained in you at this point.
100%.
The next point is kind of what we already brushed on, but it's the uniqueness. And it says every property is unique and has unique marketing challenges. We are not selling iPads or cars, which is the best way to put it. When you have an iPad 6 or 7 or 10, whatever they're out with now, this is what you're getting. You're either getting a 32 gig of RAM or a 64 gig of RAM. It's nothing like selling a house, right? And as someone like yourself who has written many contracts, and as a manager like myself who has reviewed many contracts, they are as unique as a person's fingerprint, to be honest, in the things
Absolutely.
that are the requirements for each one. So, um, that's one of the really big differences you're going to see there is the uniqueness. And I certainly don't see them creating an algorithm at any time soon that is going to be able to facilitate the complexity of a real estate transaction.
Yeah, so I mean, this point was actually really interesting because it resonates quite a bit with me. When I sit in front of a client and I'm doing a listing presentation and I'm demonstrating my value to them, one of the things I tell them is, look, I'm not helping you buy a car. I'm not helping you buy a TV. I'm helping you buy one of the largest assets that you own and spend some serious amounts of money. And I don't care if that's a $250,000 condo, which now I believe they exist in Vancouver, or if it's a $2.5 million house. For that person, it's probably their single largest asset. And we have to treat that with a lot of professionalism and a lot of care. And you're right, everything is unique and every single aspect of it changes every single time. I mean, okay, let's face it, 90% of the contract and 90% of the transactions are going to be very cookie cutter, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be 10% or 5% or whatever it is that are going to change. And it seems like that 5 or 10% is actually the 90% of the contract that gets changed, or 90% of the transaction that's different from the one that you just did yesterday. So it's that small amount that actually chews up majority of the time or effort, or requires the most amount of knowledge to address compared to the 90% of the contract that was cookie cutter.
Yeah, perfect way to put it, right? You don't a lot of the because we had at Royal LePage West we have a standard we call it a Schedule B if you're not sure what that is, and this is all your terms and conditions, subjects that are in a contract to purchase and sale. Those are good, as you said, for I guess 80 to 90%, right? But
Right.
it's that 10% where you really need that trust individual like yourself and the rest of our realtors out there that can guide you through an incredibly complex scenario. Oil tanks, leaks, assessments. It goes on and on and on.
Confirmation of sale,
Yeah,
um,
right.
access to the property for the purpose of doing measurements when subject removals are done. I mean, there's so many
Biggest
things.
influence, right? So
Biggest,
huge.
biggest, and then all of a sudden the buyer's like, "Hey, I want to get in there," and you're like, "Well, sorry, we can't." you
Right?
know,
Exactly.
you,
I
you
need to
just
see
hope
the
that the
information
realtor on the
first.
other end, exactly. You just hope that the realtor on the other end is friendly and cooperative enough to make it happen.
And
Um,
usually they're pretty good.
yeah, yeah, for the most part, for sure. Uh, I mean, sometimes out of their control, it's up to the seller, but I think the agent has a lot of influence on, a seller's opinion. Two movies come to mind actually when we're talking about this, and will the algorithm be there, and will there be humans that actually replace us, and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Recently on Netflix, they came out with a movie called I Am Mother,
Oh yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
which
I
is
watched
actually
that.
pretty.
Great
Yeah,
movie.
it's a great movie. And the other movie that I think is a few years older that I saw that somebody told me about was Ex Machina,
Yep.
and that was actually a phenomenal movie as well. So, I mean, I think the idea behind both those movies is a glimpse into what the future may hold for us. Um, and could we actually have robots that walk away or walk around and are human and can interact and understand and learn over time? And I mean, personally, as crazy it might sound, I mean, I think it probably already exists, to be honest. And I think one day, yeah, I do. I really do. There's a robot in Dubai that is actually being granted human citizenship. That's actually being granted citizenship, and this robot's being all over YouTube. If you like research or Google Dubai robot or something, you'll find it.
Well, I'm
It's
just searching
incredible.
right now. Yeah.
It's uncanny. It's uncanny. At the end of the day, though, I think for me personally, as much as that robot might be human-like, at the end of the day, I still think that I'd want to deal with a human. you know, like
Absolutely.
even if that robot did have empathy, and even if that robot could address all my concerns and help me out and all that type of stuff, I think I'd still want to interact with a human. So, for the most part, I don't think that we're really going to be disappearing anytime soon. And I think that's just human nature.
One thing that I always tell my the new realtors during training and whatever we're doing, I repeat it all the time, is I'm sure you've come to it a lot. You're an analytical person. You like numbers, and
Hmm.
when you discuss the purchase options with a buyer, I'd say 9 times out of 10, whenever you're sitting there with a buyer, what I would always tell them is, look, Hafez, I've shown you the numbers. This is what the place is worth. Do you want it? And it comes down to an emotional decision at some point, I'd say, for many people. And the numbers show you should pay X amount of dollars, but I would personally say, although they always say keep emotion out of it, it always does come down to a bit of emotion and stating, are you
Absolutely.
willing to walk away from this place? Can you see your family growing up here or growing old here, your dog running in the backyard, whatever it might be, right? A lot of those things do come down to an emotional decision. That just can't be. Maybe one day they'll put emotions into AI coding, but I don't think it's happening right now. Put it that way.
No, no, it's going to take some time, and even if it's there, I think I think there's still going to be a place for us. I mean, look at 13 years. I think the article then goes on to no, the article didn't touch upon it. I just scanned it real quick, but look at what's happened in the last 13 years,
Hmm.
and the level of technology that's infiltrated, for lack of better words, or that's really come into the play into the real estate. I mean, nobody signed on tablets back 13 years ago. I remember being probably one of the only agents in Vancouver that was using an old Toshiba computer, and I would do all my signing right on the tablet. There was no such thing as DocuSign or Authentisign. The first company that came out way back when was a company called Go Paperless. They're still around in California.
Yeah.
They had a product called eSign online. I used to use it, for many, many years. And I think I was like one of the first 5 agents to sign up for it. And now I don't think you can do a transaction without DocuSign or something like that. So, I mean, there's already a level of technology that's playing a role in our industry. When I first started, 360 tours were the big thing. Now there's a lot of people that use the Matterport. Uh, drone videos were nobody even heard of that. Now it seems like you got a property that's worth 2 million or $2.5 million. You got to have the drone. So technology has advanced our industry drastically, and I think it's played a critical role in moving our industry forward, making us more efficient, more effective with dealing with our clients. Um, there's still that level of human element that still goes into all of it, and
Absolutely.
I think as humans we still want that human element. So it's just a matter of how do you harness technology to make you a better, more effective realtor, but still maintain a level of empathy and understanding for your clients' needs and emotions to be able to effectively help them. Use technology for the tools. You still have your personality and you still have your personal approach that's going to really assist that client in making that purchase or sale decision.
Could not have said it better. Absolutely. The next point here was size. The numbers are huge. Typically, a home is the largest financial transaction. Not the same as ordering Uber. We've talked about that. We talked about the complexity. There are a lot of moving parts in a real estate transaction. By some estimates, over 80 details are to be handled. The real work often starts after going under contract. Here it talks about the iBuyer movement is attempting to simplify the process, but at a significant cost to the seller. Will this movement be a niche or become broad-based? Because of the other four pillars, my feelings that iBuyer components will be a niche for some sellers, which I think is the best way to put it. you might have some super. Well, but you even talked about your investor a few minutes ago that's bought many homes, knows what he's doing, the ins and outs of it all, but he still had to get clarification from you on the draft for the deposit,
Yeah.
right? So the niche seller, I think I read a statistic this morning about it that last year there was 50,000 transactions in the United States last year through iBuyers, which is in itself an all right number. But when you think about the millions of transactions that are actually happening, it's a very, very, very small percentage of the American market, which is where we get most of our statistics from in this sense, right? Risk. What can you talk about the risk? What would be the biggest risk that you can advise someone on in real estate?
Well, I mean, maybe not the biggest risk, but
Biggest
let's
risk.
go back to, well, I mean, let's go back to something very, very minor. So we talked about it already, right? The risk of the buyer wanting access into the property again for the purpose of measurements or contractor for painting or whatever the case may be, and it wasn't included in the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a very, very cut and dry answer. You didn't have it in the contract. There's no legal obligation for anyone to allow you. You can't get access. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Done. Well, I, when you have a human component to it, there's rationale, there's reasoning, there's understanding, there's
Foresight.
empathy, there's putting yourself in the buyer's shoes as the seller and saying, well, if I was buying a place, maybe I would want to go back, so maybe I should allow that person.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another factor that I like to call karma. And bring into play, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm not going to be nice to the buyer, then maybe the seller's not going to be nice to me. Can a computer, a robot, doesn't matter how knowledgeable they are or how advanced they are, can they ever get that level of understanding? Uh, Unfortunately, I think one day we will see it.
In our lifetime.
And I don't know when, but I think one day we'll see it.
I agree with one day.
One day,
Yeah.
right? There's some pretty amazing stuff that we can do with technology today. I mean, I a bit of a side note. I was speaking with a guy from Calgary over the weekend who owns 60 gas stations. So he's a small gas
Wow.
station guy, and he firmly believes that his business is in jeopardy within the next 10 years
Why so?
because he thinks that electric cars are going to replace him.
I could see that.
10 years?
Ten.
I
You
don't
could buy a
know.
Tesla truck next year, they
Yeah,
say. If the thing's not an
yeah.
absolute piece of garbage, hey, that would be intriguing for me.
0 to 60 in 5 seconds. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's very plausible, and I think that's a real hockey stick curve trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if here's a really smart guy thinks that he's going to be out of business in 10 years, maybe we will have robots that can understand us in 10 years. I still think that that robot might be a really good assistant as opposed to a lead a lead realtor, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I have an assistant that's a robot. Great,
Yeah,
fabulous,
that would interest me, I'll tell you that
absolutely.
much.
Especially if the only thing you got to do is charge them up and pay for the electricity.
Exactly. Cheap labor right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, coming back to your risks, I mean, I think I brought it down to a very, very non-legal risk, but
Mm-hmm.
there's an example where, you would need that level of understanding to be able to navigate through that. I mean, and then the risks, would go far beyond that. A smart lawyer, a smart realtor, somebody that's trying to help a client get out of some sort of legalese issue, uh, there's a lot of understanding and a lot of thought process that'll go into it that I think it'd be very difficult for a robot to really understand.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And one
So,
of the things that, sorry,
go on, go on, go on, go on.
no, one of the things that I like to explain to my clients, especially in the process of negotiations, is I like to understand where the other person is coming from and put myself in that other person's shoes, not necessarily because I uh, you know, care about what they want in terms of dollars or the contract price or whatever, but just so I can better understand them to be able to help my client navigate and negotiate through their way through a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think understanding the other party is very, very critical to what's important to them. You might really need certain dates. Well, maybe they need the dates more importantly than you. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the holdup. So if you gave them the dates, then maybe they're really flexible on the price, or vice versa, or whatever it comes into, right?
Yep. Yep. Well, that covers our article here, Hafez. You were very, very informative, and I'll tell you, I'm going to go Google the Dubai robot right now.
It's
Um,
pretty cool.
absolutely. So I'm going to put this article. This video will be on YouTube and Facebook. I'm going to share the actual article that we were discussing on there. So if anybody wants to read it, they can take the time to browse it over. It's actually a great article. I thought that's why I want to talk about it with Hafez. Hafez, if people want to pick your big brain on real estate, how would they find you?
Anybody can call me anytime they want. My doors are always open. I'm always open to helping people out. Reach me by phone, reach me by email, whatever which way you can get it.
What's your website?
Website is hafezrealty.com, so www.hafezrealty.com. Contact information is on there. You can always get me through the office phone, 604-939-6666, or my office phone number, 604-377-3689. More than
Perfect.
happy to help anybody.
Yeah, Hafez is all over Instagram. You've got one tag, live at SFU, right?
Yeah, live at SFU, living Coquitlam, and the IG video series that I've put together. Hashtag
Oh yeah,
Hafez on the Move.
yeah. Those are great. I like those. Those are very
Thank
informative,
you.
quick and dirty, and they get to the point.
Yeah, I've had some really positive feedback on them, so it's definitely something I'm going to continue doing. I think one of the things that I'm having a hard time with, and maybe James, I can pick your brain, is content. So I've got a 4-part series that I'm going to put together, starting probably next week sometime, which will last me about 4 weeks, and then after that, I've got to come up with some other ideas. But definitely love doing it, and I've been getting some really positive feedback on hashtag Hafez on the Move. So it's something we're definitely going to continue for sure.
If you're do you use Google Assistant at all?
Google Assistant, like Siri, or yeah, like
Same.
Siri's equivalent, or yeah, yeah, yeah,
Equivalent. I have the
yeah.
Google phone, so I just whenever an idea pops in my mind for content, I just talk to it and say add it to my notes. Then I kind of sort them out at the end of the week and see what the winner is. That's generally my content flow.
Oh, so Google has a notes thing, so I can just say, "Hey, Google, write this note down," and it'll
Yep,
keep track of it.
yep. Put them all into take
Ah,
notes, and it sits there, and then I just sort through them in the week and whatever my winner is. Because when you're sitting there watching TV or just about to go to bed half the time for me, and you have the best idea of the day, that's when
yeah,
you
yeah.
go and then you go to get a pen and paper. I don't even use pen and paper, so I just talk to my little phone and tell it to take a note, and when it's time to do
So you say,
content,
"Hey,
it's great. Yeah,
Hey, Google, make note,"
pretty much.
and she makes a note.
Yeah, puts a new little
Oh,
note in.
awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm a Android Google user myself, so that's pretty
that's
slick.
why I like you. That's why I like you,
Okay,
Fez.
cool.
All right. Oh well, thank you
Yeah,
for your
sorry,
time.
I swore earlier. I said Siri, so my apologies.
That is a curse word to me, so that's fine.
There you go. Awesome. Thanks, James.
Yes, sir.
Anytime I can lend a hand, and look forward to doing something else in the future with you.
Yep, we're gonna get you back on the fall. Okay.
Sounds great.
Talk to you soon.
Ciao.